Many of you might be confused between this 2022 Mazda CX-30 and the CX-5 Mazda. You might be wondering, well, why should I pay nearly CX-5 money to buy the CX-30, right? And once you start equipping the CX-30 and the CX-5 to be about the same spec, they do genuinely end up costing about the same amount of money. In a nutshell, you buy the CX-30 because it drives better, and then you buy the CX-5 to get the more space. That's your answer in a nutshell, but obviously we will go into more details here in a little bit. The vehicle that we are testing here is the fully loaded CX-30 Turbo Premium Plus. So it's got everything in it. This is around $35,000 the way you see it here. So let's talk about what's new here for 2022. Well, they have increased the price by about $300 across the board for all of the trim levels on the CX-30. But don't worry, because they have actually added all-wheel drive as standard for all the models. It's basically the exact same as the CX-5. Like, that's the exact same changes that we see, because for 2022, I have done a review on that vehicle as well. And all-wheel drive is standard for that CX-5. And also, when you go up to the Turbo Premium, which is around 33 grand, we also see a windshield de-icer. That's a new little feature that they've included for that particular trim level. But other than that, it's basically the same excellent CX-30 that we have come to love. The looks are pretty much unchanged. I don't like how they put the turn signals at the bottom there, separated from the headlights. I think that's kind of stupid, because it's very difficult to see that little LED strip that they've put down there at the bottom portion of the front bumper. So I don't really like that placement, but other than that, it's a nice, sleek looking vehicle. The only thing is, it's kind of like the Mazda 3, right? They just kind of lifted that up. I mean, that's not exactly what they've done, but that's roughly what this is, right? Like a slightly taller Mazda 3. So they put that black plastic cladding all throughout the side of the vehicle and the rear bumper. Many people don't like that, but hey, that's just what they have to do to differentiate this from like being a hatchback, right? Because this is not a very large vehicle. Personally, if I was shopping for the CX-30, I would skip it and get the Mazda 3, because I just think that's a far more elegant looking vehicle. This, don't take this the wrong way, but this is kind of good for like retirees, right? People who kind of want that higher ride height, because it's kind of easier to get in and out of. Not that the Mazda 3 is hard to get in and out of, but you know what I mean. Some people just like that slightly raised height, and that's the only real demographic of people that I can see getting value out of that raised height is kind of older people, right? Because younger people shouldn't have an issue getting in and out of a Mazda 3 hatch or a sedan. And then the next level is the CX-5, and kind of the reasons why you would choose this over that particular vehicle. Well, let's get into that here, and let's transition into the driving segment now. Okay, turn in, floor it. That's kind of the biggest highlight with the CX-30, what I just did there, that very abrupt maneuver, just kind of flooring it and turning in. This has a much better turn in than the CX-5 Turbo that I tested, but that's really it. I just feel like there's far less resistance on the front end when you turn the vehicle compared to the CX-5 Turbo. The power output is the same. We have 250 horsepower, 320 pounds-feet of torque, which that torque figure is quite high. That's more than a E92 BMW M3, right? That's how much torque this thing produces. So it's the same as the other turbo Mazdas, and that's with premium fuel. It goes down to 227 horses, 310 pounds-feet of torque when you put the regular fuel in here. Excellent 6-speed automatic transmission. We're just driving in the comfort mode right now, and that's perfect for this vehicle. It's just set up so well. This 6-speed, it downshifts correctly. It's not abrupt. It doesn't do anything weird. It's a fantastic transmission, and this engine, it's obviously a more relaxed engine setup, right? You don't really floor it and stand on that throttle pedal. That's not how you enjoy this vehicle. You just kind of ease into that throttle. This turbo engine is mainly a luxury feature, if anything else. For most families, like with the CX-5, I typically recommend people to just get a base model CX-5. That's just what I tell people to do. I think that's more than enough. The regular 2.5 liter 4-cylinder without the turbocharger produces 186 horsepower and 186 pounds-feet of torque. But the difference between this and the CX-5 is this just puts down the power a little bit better. There's a little bit less resistance from that front end when you turn it. But you might be saying, well, this CX-30 utilizes a torsion beam rear suspension. Most people don't even know what that is. But that's okay, I'm going to explain to you. That is an inferior rear suspension setup compared to a multi-link rear suspension. That's the superior suspension architecture, and that's what the CX-5 utilizes. However, Mazda's torsion beam is something I've never really complained about because they've always done an excellent job with their torsion beams. It feels identical to a multi-link. It doesn't even ride like shit when you sit in the back seat. That's what's most impressive about this. And this is with the 18-inch wheels because that's what these turbo models come with. When you get the base model CX-30, you get 16-inch wheels, also wrapped in 215 wide tires, same as this. But with the 16-inch wheel setup, the base model is the only CX-30 to come with those. That's going to be the best riding CX-30 that you can possibly get, but don't worry, these 18s also ride great. Sure, the CX-5 is a tad bit more comfortable than this. That's to be expected from a larger, heavier, longer wheelbase vehicle. But as I already mentioned, this handles a lot better. So if you enjoy driving, that's why you get this. But I think for most families, most people would benefit from just getting the CX-5. I think most families would make more use of that extra space because my only true con that I have with this vehicle is actually how small it is. It's a very petite vehicle, not too much interior space going on here. But if you're somebody that lives in a city environment, then this makes sense. It's far easier to drive. Not that the CX-5 is difficult to drive or anything, but you get what I'm saying here. It's a smaller, nimble, a little bit more fun to drive, very easy to fit in just about any garage space. That's kind of the advantage here. But keep in mind the CX-5 is more so on the petite side compared to its rivals like the RAV4s and things like that. If you got the base model CX-30, that would weigh about 3,300 pounds, 3,388 pounds to be exact. This is 3,505 pounds. That's the curb weight of this. The CX-5s exceed 4,000 pounds in their curb weight. I appreciate the stability of this vehicle at high speeds. Out on the highway, it does a great job. It's very quiet in typical Mazda fashion. Not too much tire noise. And the amount of wind noise that this produces is so minimal. This vehicle doesn't even use double pane glass, and it's that impressive in terms of isolation. So from a refinement standpoint, this is really well done. I mean, you can take your Toyotas and throw that thing in a dumpster because it's garbage compared to these Mazda products. I mean, Toyota for a long time has been dead to me. If you want a Toyota product, step up to a Lexus. That's just how I feel about that because I think Mazda and Honda are kind of like the best normal car that you can possibly get. The driving quality, the interior quality, the looks, the feel of it, it's just so premium and something that's elevated from this class, and that's really what I appreciate here. The thing with the CX-5 is I do typically recommend people to get the base model version of the CX-5. I think that's the best bang for the buck because it comes with blind spot monitoring and rear cross traffic alert as standard. With this CX-30, you don't get those two safety options as standard. You have to step up to the Select, which is the next trim level up, and that's pretty much around $25,000. About the same as a base model CX-5. But as I already stated, this is smaller, lighter, drives better, a little bit more fun and agile. If that's what you value, get the CX-30, but if you want the more space, get the CX-5. So with that established, let's go ahead and let's talk about this interior space next. Okay, so we are done driving the CX-30. Let's go ahead and let's cover this interior space quickly because I've done this car about 3 times now on this channel. So let's just start out here with this door panel space, right? I first of all really like this triple colored interior, right? It's got the white, brown, and black. So that's pretty impressive. With this kind of white stitching here as well. All really well done. Bose audio system, 12 speaker. Definitely worth getting, but they do make you pay up for it though. You know, you can get a regular turbo model for around 30 grand, right? But to get the premium turbo model, you have to pay like 33 grand. So you're essentially paying an extra 3 grand just to get this speaker system, as you know, along with a few other things, but mainly it's that Bose audio system that you're getting in the premium package of the turbo models. I do like the switch gear. All that is really well done. Decent space in the door pockets as well, right, for larger bottles. Seats are extremely comfortable in typical Mazda fashion. There is an appropriate amount of lumbar support here, so I did a long journey in this, around 160 miles, and I was relatively comfortable in here, no real issues. In the front, you have plenty of legroom space. Headroom is decent. That's not really an issue. It's primarily in the back seats, which I'll talk about in a bit. But let's go ahead and let's climb inside. Push button start, of course. Around town, I've been kind of flooring it and been getting around 19 mpg, but of course, when you drive it more mellow, like the way Mazda intends you to drive, you can see 20, 21 mpg with this turbo engine, so that's good. You have some buttons here on the steering wheel for your media controls, and this is kind of your radar cruise control settings here as well. All very easy to access, no real problems there. You have some additional buttons here as well. Access your camera view whenever you want, just by pressing that button. And when you step up to the Premium Plus, like this $35,000 model like you see here, that's when you get the 360 camera, which I'm not gonna lie is a great thing to have, but I don't know, it gets pricey. Like if you have this type of money, I guess, you know, the difference between 30 and 35 isn't a big deal to you, then sure, go ahead and get this thing fully loaded. It is nice to have little things like that. This Bose audio system, right? It does add to the experience. So you have that going on. You can turn off your parking sensors in case you're in like a drive-through situation, right? You have your memory seat functions, opening your trunk, and this is a little bit of a coin tray, if you will. One-touch automatic windows in the front and in the rear. Always a great thing, and as I already mentioned, the switch gear feels fantastic. All the buttons and switches here feel great, right? Like everything has a good tactility to it. Got the heated seats, heated steering wheel, right? And obviously all the climate control settings totally separated from the screen. Very elegant, well done. Many companies can actually, you know, learn from Mazda here. Everything that Mazda does here is to reduce the amount of distractions you have going on in the cabin space. Like look at this infotainment screen. I've talked about this multiple times. It's got the Apple CarPlay and Android Auto. That's not a problem, but it's just all black and white, simple to use, one of the best in the business. It looks elegant, and there's just no distractions. It's not all kinds of neon colors or anything like that. And it's not a touchscreen. You do have to use this rotary dial with these 4 buttons, so you do have to use that. Again, I have no problems with it. That way this screen isn't full of smudge marks, fingerprints, etc. You do have a physical volume knob. Everything here is physical, really well done. You have the 6-speed automatic with a little manual mode, but I just leave it in the comfort mode. It's totally fine, automatic, and I am a happy camper. So you can put it into the sport mode if you like, but no real purpose to it. No real need in this particular car. You have the electronic parking brake, which will automatically turn off as soon as you put the vehicle into drive. I really like when car manufacturers do that. Cup holders, kind of on the smaller side. You do have a place to put your phone right here. It's not a wireless charging pad or anything, but I think you can pay an extra $300 if you want to get a wireless charging pad. You do have automatic headlights, automatic wipers, your little plastic paddle shifters. Again, it's not really necessary to the vehicle. Because it's a 6-speed, it does a great job downshifting when you need it to. Not too many gears for it to go down. This armrest space has plenty of useful space here, right? 2 USBs, padded nicely. Kind of move this forward if you like. The glove box is kind of dampened. Honestly, that's not necessary, but it is what it is. Not too much space in there, to be honest with you, but whatever. You do have a regular sunroof here, not a pano, but I think the CX-50 Mazda is the first Mazda to get a pano sunroof in their lineup, because they're pretty much against it all this time, because it does take away the rigidity of your vehicle when you do have a large pano roof. But apparently they figured something out, so now they're selling a vehicle with a pano roof, just not in the CX-30. And the attention to detail, the design, everything about it looks fantastic. This is nicer than any vehicle in this class needs to be. Only real competition that Mazda has to watch out for now is Honda. They are definitely stepping up their interior game. So I'm very interested in trying out some new Honda products in the future. But anyway, let's go ahead and let's talk about this rear legroom now. Okay, this is pretty much my biggest con with this vehicle. It's the amount of rear legroom space, right? So just kind of hop in there. I am 5'11". Getting in and out of this, not really a problem, because it's kind of like a raised Mazda 3 hatchback, if you will. But the one good thing is you can really kind of dig your legs into this soft seat backing here. So that kind of gives you a couple extra inches of legroom. But if I'm honest, it's still not enough. You know, I'm 5'11". People that are like 6 feet to 6'5", they're going to have a hard time back here. One good thing is you have plenty of tow room space, which is fantastic, but even that is not enough. So just keep that in mind. You do have a little transmission tunnel here, but you do have vents here to play with, just nice. The seat quality does continue back here. That's not really a problem. It is comfortable. Even with the torsion beam suspension, it doesn't ride like garbage back here. Some cup holders here for you to play with. But that's pretty much a look at the rear legroom. Let's go ahead and let's talk about the trunk space now. Okay, so we saw that rear legroom. Let's go ahead and let's talk about this trunk space. And this is kind of what I'm saying. For most families, the CX-5, a regular base model, will do them more justice here. But this trunk space is okay. It's not terrible. You can fold down these seats 60-40. You do have a spare tire. That's kind of your Bose audio system unit back there. Yeah, you can definitely fold down these seats. Let me see here. Yeah. Just got to press this little button, and I have to move that seat a little bit forward for this seat to fall, but you kind of get the idea. It's not completely flat, but I mean, this is okay. I think most families can do just fine with this amount of space, so that's not really an issue. It's mainly the rear legroom, and that's kind of why the CX-5 is the way to go. But if you don't care about the people in the back and this trunk space looks okay to you, then go ahead. CX-30 is nice because it does genuinely drive really good. So let's go ahead and let's talk about the conclusions next. Okay, conclusions on this CX-30 Turbo Premium Plus. Well, it's obviously a vehicle I recommend. I've done reviews on this multiple times now on this channel, but it continues to be an excellent vehicle. With the CX-5 for 2022, I noticed more of a difference in the way that drove. Mazda really tried to improve its driving dynamics, and it has worked for 2022. With the CX-30, it's always been pretty excellent in terms of its driving dynamics. It's a little bit better for 2022, but not drastically different from the 2021 I tested. But it's nice to see that Mazda is trying to improve these vehicles. Obviously, the all-wheel drive being standard is a huge selling point of this car now. But would I personally buy this? No, I would just get the Mazda 3, right? It just looks amazing, and the amount of space that it offers is almost identical to the CX-30. So it's kind of in a weird place, but SUVs just sell, and you can make any sizes, forms, shapes, and it's just going to naturally sell in the United States. So I get why they made this. You're not going wrong with any of these Mazdas, right? They're all great vehicles. You're not really making a bad choice with any of them. It just depends on what you value most, as I already stated throughout this review. Everybody has their own specific needs and wants, so just identify who you are and choose from there, right? So with that established, hopefully you found value with this review. I'll put a link to my CX-5 review in the end screen here. So go ahead and watch that. Thanks again. Goodbye.